how artificial intelligence is completely changing the game for learning a new language. We're talking about something that goes so much further than just digital flashcards. We're entering a world of really dynamic, personalized practice. Okay, let's get into it.
So this is the big question, right? Can a robot really teach you a language? I mean, we've come a long way from that clunky old translation software to AIs that can actually hold a decent conversation. But can they truly, take the place of a teacher and help us get fluent? That's really the core idea we're going to unpack today. So what are we even talking about when we say AI-driven learning? This isn't just some fancy new app. Think of it as the next step up from what we used to call computer-assisted language learning. The huge difference now is that the AI learns from you. It adapts and tailors the experience so it feels less like you're just clicking through a program and a lot more like you're actually talking to someone.
But here's the thing, and this is really important. Just having a powerful AI isn't the whole story, not even close. The research makes it pretty clear that the real magic happens when that technology is guided by a solid educational plan. You need a blueprint for how to use it effectively.
And this gets to the absolute heart of the matter. It's not about what the tech can do, but how we use it. We need a roadmap, and a fantastic one that comes out of the research is this model called C.H.A.T.S, which gives us a clear, purposeful way to bring AI into the learning process.
Okay, so let's break down C.H.A.T.S. The C is for conversational. You're actually using the AI as a practice partner. H is for holistic, making sure you're engaging all your skills, reading, writing, the whole deal. A is for authentic, so you're getting instant feedback on real-world tasks. T is transformative, where the AI helps you look at your data and reflect on how you're doing. And finally, S is for situated, where you're putting it all together in realistic settings, maybe even in VR.
And this quote from the research just nails it. The idea is that the AI isn't some side tool you use now and then. It's woven into the entire journey. It's a facilitator, a partner, a guide that's with you at every single stage of your learning.
So, that all sounds great in theory, but does it actually work? Let's switch gears and look at the proof. What happens when you take these structured AI approaches and actually test them out with real students?
Well, the data is pretty compelling. There was a huge systematic review in 2025 by Lee and his colleagues that pulled together the results from 37. That's right, 37 different studies on this. So this isn't just one opinion. It gives us a really solid, big-picture look at the real-world impact.
And what they found is fascinating. The benefits weren't just about, getting better at grammar. Sure, the biggest chunks were cognitive and behavioral improvements. But look at this. Almost a third of the positive outcomes were in the emotional side of learning. That's huge. So what does all that mean in plain English? Well, behavioral means better writing and speaking, which is what you'd expect. But that emotional part means students felt less anxious, more confident, and more motivated. And the one I find really cool is that little slice for agentic improvement. It might be small, but it shows that students are starting to take more control of their own learning journey.
Okay, this all sounds amazing, but it naturally brings us right back to that first big question. If an AI can do all of this, what happens to the human teacher? I mean, are we looking at a future where they're just not needed?
So, are teachers becoming obsolete? The research is crystal clear on this. No, absolutely not. In fact, it points in the complete opposite direction. The most effective, powerful model isn't AI instead of teachers, but AI working with them as a partner.
And here's why. They each bring totally different but equally important strengths to the table. An AI chatbot gives you things a human just can't, like 24/7 practice and instant data-driven feedback in a judgment-free zone. But a human teacher provides things an AI can't even touch: real empathy, a deep understanding of cultural nuance, and the creativity to design truly engaging lessons. They really are two sides of the same coin.
This quote from that big review study just says it all. This is not a competition. It's a collaboration. Both the AI and the human teacher are critical, and the future of language education is all about figuring out how to best leverage the unique strengths of each.
Of course, it's not all perfectly smooth sailing from here.
Like with any powerful new technology, this shift comes with some pretty big questions and some real challenges that we have to be smart about navigating.
The research points to 4 major hurdles. You've got massive issues like algorithmic bias and data privacy. I mean, we're talking about voice recordings and personal data here. But then there are also very real, practical problems like the digital divide. Not everyone has equal access, and crucially, making sure teachers get the training they need to actually use these powerful tools effectively.
So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. AI is an incredibly powerful tool. It's a potential game changer for sure, but it is not a magic wand. Its success, its real value in education will always come down to us, to humans, guiding it with smart planning, solid ethics, and a clear vision.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about for the future. As AI becomes this constant partner in our learning, how does that change the very definition of fluency? Does it mean having perfect grammar stored in your head? Or does it mean being able to skillfully use all the tools at your disposal to communicate effectively? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for watching.
You know, we're living through one of the biggest shifts in education right now. It's the moment that artificial intelligence stops being a futuristic idea and starts being a real, powerful co-pilot for learning English. So let's dive in and see what that actually looks like.
I mean, just think about that for a second. What if every single learner had their own personal tutor? Someone who's patient, who's always available, ready to practice anytime, anywhere. Well, that's not science fiction anymore. That's the reality that AI is starting to build for us right now. So what are we really talking about when we say AI-driven learning? Well, at its heart, it's about using smart tech to create a totally new kind of learning experience. We're talking about systems that can understand you, respond to you, and adapt to how you're learning, all in real time. It makes the whole process incredibly personal and dynamic. And this tech shows up in a few different ways you've probably already seen. You've got your intelligent tutors, like Duolingo, that change up the lessons based on how you're doing. Then there are tools like Grammarly that use natural language processing to help you write better. And of course, the big one everyone's talking about, conversational chatbots that can actually talk with you, almost like a real person. Okay, so we have this amazing technology, but what does it actually unlock? What's the real potential here? Let's break down the benefits, first for the students and then for the teachers who are guiding them. This comparison, man, it really gets to the heart of the matter. In a traditional classroom, practice time is limited, right? But with AI, you get endless practice. A teacher has to divide their attention among 30 kids, but AI can give you focused one-on-one feedback. And maybe the biggest one of all, it helps tackle that fear of making mistakes. And that point about fear is absolutely critical. Think about it. Language anxiety is this huge barrier that can stop people from even trying to speak. But practicing with a chatbot, it completely removes that pressure. It creates this safe space where you can experiment, you can fail, and you can actually get better without worrying about what anyone thinks. And this isn't just a feeling, the research is really starting to back it up. A new review from Lee and his team breaks the impact down into 4 key areas. First, of course, it improves your behavioral outcomes, your actual language skills. But look at the others. It boosts emotional things like motivation and confidence, cognitive skills like creativity, and this cool thing called agentic outcomes, which is just a fancy way of saying it puts students in the driver's seat of their own learning. But hold on, this isn't just a win for students. For teachers, AI is a total game changer. It can automate all that tedious admin work, which frees up so much time. It can act like an amazing assistant for planning lessons. And this has huge implications for teacher education, because it becomes this always-on coach for professional development. So the potential is clear. It's massive. But potential doesn't mean much without a plan, right? How do we actually bring this into the classroom in a way that works? Well, for that, you need a framework. Yeah, the real trick is moving from just having the tech to using it with a solid teaching plan. And one fantastic roadmap for this is something called the C.H.A.T.S model. It's a new framework designed to make sure AI isn't just some gimmick, but a real integrated part of the learning journey that can shape everything from syllabus design to the daily lesson plan. The model gives us 5 clear stages that build on each other. You start by setting the context, then you get the student holistically engaged. After that, you push them toward authentic language production, help them reflect on what they learned, and finally, get them to apply it in new situations. It's a whole learning cycle. Let's just zoom in on one of these to see how powerful it can be. Authentic production. This isn't about filling in the blanks on a worksheet. No, this is about using language for a real reason in tasks that feel like something you'd actually do in the real world. It's about building that functional competence. And this is where AI just absolutely shines. A chatbot can instantly become a waiter you have to order from or a hiring manager for a job interview. It gives you immediate, private feedback on everything, your grammar, your word choice, even your pronunciation. It lets you do it over and over and over again until you feel totally confident. And this piece of advice from Anne-Marie Murphy at Cambridge University Press really hits the nail on the head. She points out that if you make these AI tools part of a structured homework assignment, students are way more likely to actually use them. It guides them and lets them experiment in that safe, non-judgmental space we were talking about. Okay, so the picture we've painted looks incredibly promising, and it is. But to be responsible, we have to look at the other side of the coin. We have to talk about the challenges and the ethical questions we need to figure out as we move forward. On one side, the opportunities are huge, right? Personalization, accessibility, engagement. But on the other side, the challenges are very real. We're talking about things like bias baked into the algorithms, questions about data privacy, and the digital divide making inequality worse. And of course, there's always that risk of losing the human touch if we're not careful. And this number right here brings one of those challenges into sharp focus, 71%. That's how many teachers are already using AI. But at the same time, the huge majority of them are saying, hey, we need more training to do this right. The train has left the station, and we need to make sure our educators have the support they need. So, all of this leads to what is maybe the most important takeaway of all. The goal here isn't replacement. It's not about AI taking over. It's about partnership, a new kind of human-AI collaboration where technology supercharges the incredible skills of a human teacher and helps us all become lifelong learners. And the latest research totally backs this up. It confirms that both human teachers and AI are absolutely critical. The real work ahead isn't about choosing one over the other. It's about designing our classrooms and curriculums for this new collaborative world so we can get the best of both. So that leaves us with this final big question. AI is shaping up to be an incredible co-pilot. It can handle so much of the complex navigation for us. But in this new world of learning, how do we make absolutely sure that the human teacher always remains in the pilot seat, guiding the entire journey?
All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to explore a framework that's trying to build a really smart bridge between the incredible, sometimes chaotic, power of AI and the actual real work of learning a new language. It's called the C.H.A.T.S. model. And you know what? It might just be the guide we've all been looking for to make sense of this new world. So this is the big question on everyone's mind, right? We've got these amazing AI tools at our fingertips that can give us instant translations, endless practice, pretty much anything we want. But just having a tool is a totally different thing from actually learning. Without a roadmap, are we just playing with high-tech toys? The real challenge, the thing we need to figure out, is how to turn AI from a fun little add-on into a core part of how we genuinely learn a language.
And what's so interesting is that this isn't some brand new problem that just popped up with AI. Not at all. For decades, language education has had this gap between all the brilliant theories about how we learn and what actually happens in the classroom. We've seen so many methods come and go. The sudden explosion of powerful AI has just turned up the heat, making the need for that bridge between theory and practice more critical than ever before. And that is exactly where the C.H.A.T.S. model comes into the picture. Think of it as a game plan, a framework specifically designed to take all of that raw AI power and give it a clear, intentional purpose in the world of language learning.
Okay, so C.H.A.T.S. It's a great acronym, but what's actually behind it? Each letter stands for a core idea. The C is for conversational, because learning is about dialogue, not just memorizing lists. H is for holistic, meaning we build all our skills at once: reading, writing, speaking, listening. A is for authentic, using real-world situations, not just textbook examples. T is for transformative, which means it makes you stop and reflect on how you're learning. And finally, S is for situated, so you can actually apply what you've learned in realistic contexts.
Now, it's really important to understand where this model comes from. It wasn't just dreamt up in a tech lab. The C.H.A.T.S model was developed by Dr. Mahmoud M.S. Abdallah, a professor of curriculum and English language instruction. This is huge because it means the framework is born from deep educational expertise. It was created to solve real-world problems that educators, especially those teaching English to speakers of other languages, have been wrestling with for years.
The real power of this model is that it's not just about cool tech. It's built on a seriously solid theoretical foundation. It pulls from big, proven ideas in education. Things like socio-constructivism, which says we learn best by interacting with others, and connectivism, which is all about learning in our networked digital age. The key takeaway here is simple. This framework is grounded in proven educational science about how people actually learn.
Okay, so we've got the theory, and the core principles make a lot of sense. But what does this actually look like in a classroom or, for someone learning on their own? Let's move from the what to the how and look at the 5 stages in action. This is where the model really comes alive. At the very heart of the model is this 5-stage learning cycle. Think of it like a loop that guides a learner all the way from their first introduction to a topic to actually using it in the real world. You see how it flows logically? You start with context, then you engage with the material, then you actually produce the language yourself, then, and this is so important, you reflect on it before finally applying it for real. It's a complete journey.
Theory is one thing, but seeing it work is everything. So let's walk through a sample lesson. We'll imagine an intermediate English learner, and the theme is cultural exploration abroad. This scenario is going to show us exactly how a teacher and a learner can use an AI chatbot to move through each of those 5 stages, turning an abstract idea into a living, breathing, personalized lesson. So imagine an interaction that starts like this. This isn't just a simple question and answer. This is the start of a guided, authentic learning experience. The AI isn't just acting like a dictionary or a grammar checker here. It's becoming a conversational partner, a kind of digital local guide, a co-facilitator in the learning process itself. This little bit of dialogue really captures the spirit of the whole model. Okay, this table really lays it all out perfectly. Let's just walk through it. Stage 1, contextualization. The AI doesn't just start spitting facts, it asks about your interests to make it personal. Then comes Stage 2, engagement. The AI provides all sorts of cool content, videos, blogs, podcasts, to get you immersed. The really critical steps are next, production, where you get to role-play with the AI, actually practicing the language. And then reflection, where the AI gives you feedback on how you did. And finally, it all culminates in Stage 5, application. Here, you use your new skills in a realistic task, like booking a trip. You can really see how the AI guides you through the whole cycle, from start to finish. All right, so right about now you might be thinking, okay, I get it, but we've been using technology and language apps for years. What's the big deal? What makes this so different? And that's a fantastic question. The C.H.A.T.S model is really proposing a fundamental shift in how we even think about AI's role in education. Let's break down what makes it stand out.
This chart really spells it out. In the traditional approach, AI is kind of on the sidelines. It's a glorified spell checker, a quiz bot, basically an add-on. But with the C.H.A.T.S approach, it's a whole different ballgame. The AI is an integral part of the process, a core facilitator. The focus of learning shifts away from just memorizing abstract rules to applying language in authentic, real-world situations. And maybe most importantly, look at the learner's role. You go from being a passive recipient to an active agent, the person in the driver's seat of your own education.
And this shift leads to some really clear and powerful strengths. First off, it promotes your agency as a learner, giving you more autonomy. For teachers, it's a practical way to finally bridge that frustrating gap between theory and practice.
By focusing on that whole cycle of learning and reflection, it builds skills for lifelong learning, not just for the next test. And because it's a flexible framework, not a rigid set of rules, it can adapt and evolve as AI technology itself continues to change.
Now, as promising and exciting as this model is, let's be realistic for a second. Putting this into practice isn't as simple as just downloading an app or turning on a chatbot. A truly transformative approach like this requires us to look ahead and think seriously about the practical realities and the challenges of building this new educational future. We have to have a clear-eyed view of the potential hurdles.
And these hurdles are very real. We absolutely have to think about the human side of things, like providing robust training for teachers so they feel confident and competent. Then there are the huge ethical questions around data privacy and potential bias in the AI's algorithms. And of course, we have to make sure learners don't become over-reliant on the AI. None of this can happen without real institutional support and the right infrastructure. These are the critical questions we have to answer to do this responsibly.
This quote from the model's creator, Dr. Abdallah, just gets right to the heart of the matter. The goal here isn't to let technology take over education. The C.H.A.T.S. model is all about partnership. It's advocating for AI as a powerful tool, absolutely, but one that is carefully integrated. Those are the key words. It's a tool that's used thoughtfully to serve sound educational principles, to enhance, not replace, human insight and interaction.
Which brings us to this final, massive question. Is the future of education a partnership between human insight and artificial intelligence? Well, if the C.H.A.T.S. model is any indication, the answer is a resounding yes. It presents a future where education isn't some battle between human teachers and their AI replacements, but a powerful synergy. A partnership where the unique strengths of humans, our empathy, our creativity, our mentorship, are amplified by the incredible capabilities of AI. It's a vision for learning experiences that are more personalized, more authentic, and ultimately more effective than anything we've seen before. And that is a truly compelling vision for the future of learning.